Before there was a nation, before the law, before kings and prophets, there was one man, called not because he was perfect, but because he was willing. This is the story of Abraham, a journey of faith, obedience, and promise, a story that changed history forever. God called Abram and said,
"Leave your father's house and follow me.
Abram obeyed, and God made him a promise.
I will make you a great nation."
Years passed, no child. Sarah was barren. Abraham was old. Then one day, 3 visitors appeared. Abraham ran to meet them. He prepared a meal and served them himself. They said,
"By this time next year, Sarah will have a son."
Sarah was listening from inside the tent, and she laughed, quietly in her heart. God said,
"Why did Sarah laugh?"
She denied it,
I did not laugh.
but God replied,
"Yes, you did laugh."
Because nothing is hidden from God.
the promise was set, and the story was just beginning. As Abram's wealth increased, so did tension. His servants and his nephew Lot's servants began to quarrel over the land. But Abram refused the vision. He said, "Let there be no strife between us, for we are family." Then Abram gave Lot the first choice, and they went their separate ways.
Did you know Lot was Abraham's nephew? They traveled together at first, sharing flocks and herds. But soon, their servants quarreled. Abraham, wise and patient, suggested they separate to avoid conflict. Lot chose the fertile plains near Sodom and Gomorrah, a choice that would lead to disaster. And we all know what happened next. Cities consumed by fire and his family barely escaping. Sometimes the decisions we make today can change the course of tomorrow.
The outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah was great. Their sin had reached the heavens, and the Lord chose to reveal his plans to Abram. What he was about to do would change the land forever.
Did you know God told Abraham about Sodom and Gomorrah before sending the angels? The Lord said,
I've heard the outcry. These cities are full of wickedness. I'm going to see if what I've heard is true.
But Abraham didn't stay silent. He boldly asked,
Will you destroy the righteous along with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous people. Will you spare the city?
God replied.
Yes, I will spare it for their sake.
Abraham pressed on, negotiating down 40, 30, 20, finally 10. And God said,
So I will not destroy it for the sake of 10.
This shows Abraham's faith and courage, and God's justice tempered with mercy.
Even though Abraham interceded for Sodom and Gomorrah, the judgment still came. Angels were sent into the city, and the wickedness of the city revealed itself. God sent 2 angels to Sodom to investigate this city's wickedness. Lot welcomed them into his home, but before the night was over, the men of the city, young and old, surrounded the house. They shouted at Lot and said,
Bring the men out to us, so we may sleep with them.
Their desire was violent, perverse, and unchecked. Lot pleaded with them to stop, but they refused. Then the angels struck the men with blindness and said to Lot,
Get out of this place, judgment is coming.
Lot hesitated, so mercy grabbed him by the hand. Fire and sulfur rained down from heaven. Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed, and Lot's wife, looking back in longing, was turned into a pillar of salt. Judgment fell, but mercy still made a way out. But the story didn't end there. In the shadow of Sodom's ruin, Lot and his daughters hid in a cave. Fear and desperation filled the air. The end of their family line seemed near. In that darkness, the daughters acted to preserve their bloodline. From their actions, nations were born. Moab and Ammon, destined to rise as giants in the land. After Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed, Lot and his 2 daughters fled to a cave. They believed the whole world was gone and feared humanity had ended. The older daughter said to her sister,
Let's make sure our family line continues.
They gave their father wine and lay with him, conceiving children. The older daughter had Moab. The younger had Ben-Ammi. These 2 became the ancestors of the Moabites and Ammonites. A story of survival, twisted by fear, and a desperate plan to preserve life. The consequences of sin ripple far beyond what we see. After rescuing Lot, Abraham met a man unlike any other, Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of the Most High God. He brought bread and wine, blessing Abraham and proclaiming God's favor. No lineage, no origin, a mysterious figure whose presence radiated holiness. In that brief encounter, the eternal intersected with the earthly. After Abram rescued Lot, he was met by Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of God Most High. Melchizedek brought bread and wine and blessed Abram. Then something shocking happened. Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. Scripture gives no genealogy for the king, no record of his birth, no record of his death. Hebrews says he is without father or mother, resembling the Son of God. Jesus wasn't made a priest like the Levites. He was made a priest after the order of a king, a priest. No beginning, no end. Melchizedek wasn't just a man in history. He was a shadow of Christ. A famine forced Abram and Sarai to journey to Egypt. Fearing for his life, Abram claimed Sarai was his sister. Pharaoh took her into his house, unaware of the truth. But God's hand moved swiftly. Plagues struck the palace. A famine struck the land. So Abram and Sarai went down to Egypt to survive. But fear crept in. Abram said to Sarai,
Say you are my sister, so they will spare my life.
When Pharaoh saw Sarai's beauty, he took her into his palace, but God intervened. The Lord struck Pharaoh's household with severe plagues. Pharaoh quickly realized something was wrong. He confronted Abram and said,
Why didn't you tell me she was your wife?
Then Pharaoh returned Sarai, rebuked Abram, and sent them out of Egypt. God was faithful, even when Abram feared. The Lord spoke to Abraham in a vision. God promised him descendants as countless as the stars, to seal his covenant. Abraham prepared the animals, and God himself passed through the fire, a silent, holy witness to his faithfulness. In that sacred moment, a divine promise became unbreakable. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. God promised Abram descendants as numerous as the stars. But Abram asked,
How will I know?
God told him to prepare a covenant. Animals were cut in two, and as darkness fell, a deep terror came over Abram. Then a smoking firepot and a blazing torch passed between the pieces. God alone walked the covenant, sealing the promise, not by Abram's faithfulness, but by his own. Sarai grew impatient as God's promise of a child remained unfulfilled. She gave Hagar to Abraham, hoping to fulfill the promise by human means. But conflict arose, and Hagar was sent away, alone in the wilderness. An angel of the Lord appeared, guiding her back and assuring her that her son would live. Hagar went back and bore Ishmael, the beginning of a mighty line, showing that even in human mistakes, God's plan endures.
Sarai couldn't have children, so she gave her Egyptian servant Hagar to Abram. Abram agreed and Hagar became pregnant. But once she knew, tension exploded. Hagar looked down on Sarai, and Sarai blamed Abram. Sarai treated Hagar so harshly that she ran into the wilderness. That's when the angel of the Lord found Hagar by a spring and asked where she was going. The angel told her to return and promised her descendants too many to count. He said her son would be named Ishmael, meaning God hears, because the Lord heard her cry. He also foretold that Ishmael would live in conflict with others. Hagar then gave God a new name. The God who sees me. She returned, gave birth, and Abram named the child Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old. Even in human mistakes, God still saw, heard, and kept his word.
The Lord appeared to Abram once more, even after human impatience and mistakes. God promised a son to Abram and Sarai. Abram laughed. They were too old, too weary to hope. Yet God changed their names. Abram became Abraham. Sarai became Sarah. And every male in their household was to be circumcised, as a sacred sign of the covenant. God gave Abram a new name. God said,
No longer shall your name be Abram, but Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations.
And Sarai, her name became Sarah. God promised Abraham,
I will bless Sarah and make her a mother of nations.
Abraham laughed in disbelief. He was 99, Sarah 90, and he thought Ishmael would be his heir. But God said,
No, Sarah will give birth to a son, and his name shall be Isaac.
God also commanded Abraham,
Every male in your household must be circumcised as a sign of my covenant.
Even in old age, God's promise stood, and his covenant with Abraham would last forever. A famine drove Abraham and Sarah to Gerar. Fearing for his life, Abraham claimed Sarah was his sister. The king took her into his house, unaware of the truth, but God intervened, and the king was warned in a dream. Abraham and Sarah entered Gerar. Abraham warned Sarah,
Say you are my sister, or they may kill me for you.
because Sarah was beautiful to look upon. King Abimelech took Sarah to his palace. That night, God appeared in a dream.
You are a dead man. That woman is married.
Abimelech pleaded his innocence. God instructed him to return Sarah. Abraham explained he feared for his life in a foreign land. Abraham prayed, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and all his household. Abimelech returned Sarah, gave Abraham gifts, and cleared her reputation. Even when fear leads us to make mistakes, God protects his plan and keeps his promises. God's promise came to life. Sarah, long past the years of childbearing, gave birth to Isaac. Abraham was 100 and Sarah 90, yet the miracle unfolded exactly as God had spoken.
Abraham was 100 years old. Sarah was 90. For decades they waited. They doubted. They laughed. But God had said, "At the appointed time I will return to you, and Sarah will have a son." And he did. Sarah conceived. She gave birth to a son just as God promised. They named him Isaac, which means laughter. The laughter of doubt turned into the laughter of joy. God turned waiting into fulfillment. What God promises, he always completes.
As Isaac grew, Ishmael began to mock him. Sarah, seeking protection for her son, asked Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael away. God's hand remained upon them, promising that Ishmael would become a great nation. Yet the prophecy was clear. His descendants would live in tension with Isaac's line. Even in separation, God's plan continued to unfold.
Isaac grew, and a celebration was held. But Ishmael, the son of Hagar, was mocking Isaac, and Sarah said to Abraham,
Send this slave woman and her son away. He will not share in the inheritance.
The words deeply distressed Abraham. But God told him,
Do not be troubled. Listen to Sarah. For through Isaac your offspring will be reckoned, but I will also make a nation of Ishmael.
Early the next morning, Abraham gave Hagar bread and water and sent her away. In the wilderness, the water ran out. Hagar placed her son under a bush and walked away, unable to watch him die. She lifted her voice and wept, and God heard the boy crying. An angel of God called to Hagar,
Do not be afraid, God has heard the boy. Lift him up, for I will make him into a great nation.
Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. God was with the boy, and Ishmael lived.
God called Abraham to a test unlike any other. Abraham obeyed without hesitation, trusting God completely. It was a test of faith, and Abraham's devotion became a testament to God's promises. After years of waiting, God tested Abraham. He said,
Take your son, your only son Isaac, and offer him.
Early the next morning, Abraham obeyed. He walked up the mountain with Isaac, carrying the wood and the promise. When Abraham raised the knife, God stopped him. God provided a ram in Isaac's place, and Abraham learned this truth: God will provide. Sarah lived a full life, witnessing the fulfillment of God's promises. But even the faithful are mortal. She died at 127 years old, and Abraham mourned deeply. Yet in his grief, he honored her with a burial in the cave of Machpelah, a lasting testament to love, faith, and God's covenant.
Did you know Sarah is the only woman in the Bible whose age at death is recorded? Sarah lived 127 years. When she died, Abraham wept and mourned for her. Then he did something profound. He purchased a burial place in the land God promised him, the cave of Machpelah. It was the first piece of the promised land Abraham ever owned. A grave, but also a declaration of faith. Even in death, God's promises were still unfolding.
Abraham lived a full life, faithful to God's promises. He witnessed the fulfillment of God's covenant. Isaac, the promised son, had been born, and Ishmael's descendants had grown as foretold. At 175 years old, Abraham passed from this life, leaving all he had to Isaac, while God's plan continued through both lines. His death marked the end of an era, but the promise endured.
Abraham lived a long and full life, blessed by God in every way. After Sarah's death, Abraham remarried and had other children. But to Isaac, the son of promise, Abraham gave everything he owned. Before his death, Abraham made his servant swear an oath to find a wife for Isaac and to never allow him to return to Abraham's former land. Abraham took his last breath at a good old age, an old man blessed by God and satisfied with life. His sons Isaac and Ishmael came together to bury him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the same place where Sarah was laid to rest. After Abraham's death, God blessed Isaac just as he promised. Ishmael, Abraham's son through Hagar, also had 12 sons, 12 princes who became 12 tribes. They settled from Havilah to Shur, east of Egypt, living in open hostility toward all their relatives, exactly as the Lord had spoken. Abraham's journey ended, but God's promise did not.
From the call of Abram to the fulfillment of God's promises, we have witnessed faith, tested lives, transformed, and a covenant kept. Abraham's journey reminds us that even in doubt, fear, and failure, God's plan prevails. Through trials and miracles, obedience and hope, the eternal intersects with the earthly. May this story inspire you to trust, to believe, and to walk faithfully in your own journey. And remember, these stories are not just history. They are life lessons, timeless and unending. God bless you.